following program is intended for mature audiences.
He's standing in front of the net with about 8 inches of his shaft in his hand.
All right.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And download every episode and more at basicallyasportshow.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
When I do my hockey broadcast, I can peek very easily on this thing.
Well, speaking of your hockey broadcast, let's talk a little bit about that, because you got to call a game from the Staples Center in the press box.
I did.
Sweet.
It was pretty awesome. So I walk in, I go up to the table, and I'm like, hey, I'm here for my media thing, and the guy finds my name. I have to go through security, and then I don't know where to go, and they're like, oh, yeah, just take the elevator right there. It says media elevator. I turn the corner, and sure enough, media elevator. Cool. And so I get in, I look on the wall, and it says like what the levels are, and it's like Bob Miller press box, chicken burn room. I see a couple of people that I know that work for the Ducks media, got some business cards made up beforehand, and I gave one to the Ducks people, I gave one to the Kings guy.
Whoa.
Very nice.
Our boy's growing up, Mike.
And I do the stupid thing where I'm like checking every single name tag that's on all these tables, and I'm like, so where did they put me? Where did they put me? And I keep reading, it's like LA Times, OC Register, like all the important people. And then I eventually look on the wall behind me, and there's a seating chart. And it's like, oh, no, you're on the other side of the press box. Oh, okay. So I walk by the Kings TV and radio booths, and I know Bob Miller's in one of those booths, so it was like, ooh, kind of neat. I finally found where I'm sitting. And it's literally on the far side. Like if you're in the press box, it's on the far right side. So I was directly back from one of the face-off dots in like the right-hand zone. But I got to sit there and watch the game. And every now and then I look behind and I see like Ducks GM Bob Murray was there, and the Ducks vice president was there. And I just kept looking back. I'm like, oh, hey, I know those people. And then I finally saw Bob Miller, and I'm like, oh, Bob Miller, I need to go say hi. But he had just gotten like out of this back room where there's extra food, and he had this full plate, and he had some food in his mouth, and I'm like, I can't just jump up and run at him in the middle of the game when he's got food all up in his face.
It's like a mouthful of chicken wings. Hello, Bob Miller.
But I got to watch it from up there, and I got all the game notes and all the announcements and all that sort of thing, and so that was neat. And then once the game was over, everybody kind of cleared out, and I got set up, and I got to call the hockey play-by-play for Long Beach State Hockey, as I do normally, just from much farther away and up at the top of pretty much an empty Staples Center. I mean, there were some people that stayed behind, and they forced them all into one section so the security people could keep them together, and then they could clean out the seats from the rest of the arena.
Even if I had nothing to do with either school playing, if I were at that game, I would have stayed, because it's more hockey for free.
One thing I did learn about my cohorts in the media: slobs, all of them.
Oh, God, yeah.
You get free refreshments, but you have to pay for, like, meals. People just left all their coffee cups and their water bottles, like, all over the desks.
Yep.
And I'm like...
Okay, slobs. For a moment, I thought you said Slavs.
Europeans, the slobs. No.
That would be so much better, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, they're monsters. They just leave food and stuff all over the place. Because I was up there late, and so the lady that was cleaning up the press box walked by, and I was like, I will take care of my trash, thank you.
Yeah, it's terrible, man. I remember when I did the NCAA basketball tournament in Albany, because that was the first big thing I'd ever done. It just blew my mind how disgusting these people were. Just left junk, like plates, because they had a big free breakfast buffet every day, and lunch and dinner and the whole bit. And I mean, you would walk through like where the people would eat, and it was awful. I was like, God, just, it doesn't take any effort to take that plate and walk it 3 steps to a garbage can. I couldn't get over it. It was just amazing. But yeah, that's universal. They're just terrible. But yeah, it was fun though, huh?
Yeah, it was cool because, I've been in press boxes before, but not for hockey. And it's just, there were, you look on the thing and there are names you recognize. And during the intermissions, I would get up and walk around. There were a couple people that I wanted to go talk to, but they were in the middle of a conversation with somebody. So it's not like I could just go hey, excuse me, I know that you're talking to this important person, but I'm me.
Plus, you don't speak any Slavic languages, so that would have made it tough, too.
Yes.
That's so great.
It was just kind of cool, too, to be you're behind the curtain sort of thing.
I would love to call a game from, a place like that. That would be so cool.
it was actually kind of funny because at first, like, I'm like, oh, this is such a big deal. This is great. I'm so excited. But then once the game started and I got like into calling the game, it was really no different than calling the game anywhere else. Just a little different view, but you're calling game action. It was kind of funny in that way where it's like, no matter where it's being played, the game is still the game, and you still have to call the game as it is. It's something I'll remember.
He will get his humble beginnings here on Basically a Sports Show, and then one day we will all be listening to Zach call games on whatever the NHL ends up on in 10 years.
Just remember, Zach, when you're there, keep up the proud tradition of finding new ways to say pass.
Absolutely.
Elevator.
I've got to think, though, at this point, they've got to have all been covered, right? I mean,
by Doc Emmerich himself, yeah.
Anyway,
he finds a new one every season. So,
but yeah,
I mean, I have the recording, so
that's cool.
That'll keep.
Cool. So, who won the game?
Cal State Fullerton did. It was actually Long Beach made a comeback there. It was we scored the first goal on a power play, and then Fullerton scored three unanswered. Then Long Beach scored on the power play again, so it was 3-2. Then Fullerton scored 3 unanswered again. Then Long Beach started to hit guys, and that got the momentum going, and they got back within 1, and then Fullerton looked like they scored, but they didn't, and they waved it off because the net came off its moorings, and it was an exciting game, but
cool.
we ended up winning.
Cool.
It looks like they won their other game last night, so we're 1-1 on the season going into the home opener on Thursday against USC.
Which you can hear online listening to you call it, if I remember correctly.
You can listen to it online at Mixlr, that's MIXLR.com/Long Beach State Hockey. We can do our baseball preview.
I want to ask you, Zach, because I know that you and I both listen to this podcast. On the Bill Simmons podcast, I want to say it was last week when him and Cousin Sal were doing the lines. He said something that just irked the living daylights out of me. When he said, is Vin Scully, is this really a big thing outside of L.A.? And I wanted to just beat him with a bat after that.
Well, like, I understood what the question was, though. Ultimately, it's local broadcaster retires.
At this point, yes. But he also was the guy who called the catch with Dwight Clark. He called the World Series home run with Kirk Gibson, Bill Buckner's error, and a lot of other stuff, too.
I come from a country that doesn't even acknowledge any other sport outside of hockey as existing, and I knew who Vin Scully was. So I'd say, yeah, it's a big deal outside of Los Angeles.
Yeah, and it just irked me because as I've stated many, many times, my relationship with Bill Simmons is very much I like him one day and I want to beat him with a bat the next. And that was one of the beat him with the bat days because it just really frightened me because he's like, who else knows about this guy outside of L.A., outside of the stories you read? And I thought, well, he used to do the Game of the Week on NBC back in the 80s. You know, he was the voice of a couple of really huge moments in sports. But anyway, he's done
he's
now.
No Joe Buck, but
well, who is though? But
yeah, I mean,
did you watch did you watch any of his last broadcast?
Yeah, I watched it. I recorded it. I cried a couple tears here and there. You
know what? The one that got me was last week, the last game, the tribute they did at Dodger Stadium the Saturday night.
Yeah.
That Costner thing, I was a blubbering idiot during that. I think I would have been fine if they hadn't played that stupid Field of Dreams music while he was talking.
All the things the Giants did for him too. They put that plaque up and they sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" to Vin.
And again, he's been with the Dodgers since they were in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I want to say he went there in 51. No, 50. 50. Yeah, 50.
1950.
Which is really, I think, another reason why it's such a big deal because, I mean, that's got to be a rarity. I don't think there's a single personality that you could think of stature that, you know, is still with the team from the previous location. I mean, the fact that there was still someone in the Dodgers organization from the Brooklyn days, I think is just amazing enough.
My thing, and I saw this in an article I read today, has there ever been anyone that not only lasted as long as he did, which was 67 years, but was, I think, every bit as good the day he left is probably better, well, obviously better than when he started, but he never got bad. He never started slowing down or got to the point where, hey, Vin, it might be time to hang him up. He was just great till the very end. Then he dropped the mic and walked off the stage.
That was one of the things that really stood out to me over the last week of really listening to him again. He's just as good or better than almost everybody else.
I still think he's the gold standard myself.
He does it so differently than everybody else, too, because he's the one guy in the booth. He's a one-man booth. And the ability that he has to just weave a story in between pitch counts. It's unmatched. Nobody will ever be Vin Scully because nobody can do what he does so well, fluently. So he just paints the picture so much better than anybody else.
I'll have you know that when Pierre McGuire tells me where every NHLer played their junior hockey, that was quite a story for me.
Oh, yeah, he's from Moose Jaw.
You tend to forget that about Vin Scully, too, is that he does it by himself. Because he's just so good at it, you don't even realize it's just one guy. It's just you just don't even think about that part of it. But to me, he's the greatest announcer of all time, and I don't know that there's even a close second at this point, really.
I mean, I do the hockey broadcast by myself, and hockey's different where there's a lot of stuff going on, so you can kind of fill the time by yourself.
Yeah.
But even like you're going back and forth on play for a while, and then it's like you need to take a breather, and like I would stop for a second where a color guy would normally come in and like explain what was going on. Vin does baseball, where your whole MO is to fill space for 3 hours, and he does it.
Might I suggest that Zach is the Vin Scully of hockey?
He is today. So are we all on board with the Cubs?
I think you have to be, right?
Not if you're an Ohioan, you don't. Or a Canadian, for that matter.
Obviously, if you have a team in the race, you're behind your team. Understandable, 100%. But if one of your teams is out, I mean, in the American League, I'm behind the Blue Jays 100%. Go Jays, go. And then in the National League, you got to be behind the Cubbies. Because are you really going to root for the Dodgers? I mean, outside of the Vin Scully, win for Vin Scully angle. The Giants again? No.
Yeah, screw the Giants.
The Mets, they just got there last year. They had their shot. No thanks.
But, there's the Tim Tebow story.
He fucking hit a home run in his first at bat.
Yep.
He hit a home run on the first pitch of his first at bat.
Jeez.
Yeah. I wanted to bring that up at some point.
Yeah.
That's beginner's luck, right? That just has to be.
Either that or
divine intervention.
I can't have him ruining my sport. I simply will not allow it. It just can't happen.
Okay, so how long until we get the Skip Bayless hot take of Tim Tebow is the greatest baseball player who has ever lived?
It probably already happened, but no one saw it. I mean, good for him. That's got to be satisfying. And I mean, I'll admit, I'm kind of impressed by it. But come on, go away. Don't play baseball. Go home.
Go away.
I still don't know why he's doing this because, as we've mentioned, he's got a pretty good gig as a analyst on the SEC network.
If there's anything I can appreciate about it is that I want to say a little part of me believes it's not a publicity stunt. I don't think he needs the money because I'm sure he got paid well for his couple of years in the NFL. I'm sure he's getting good money out of ESPN or the SEC network for his announcer's gig. And it's a total publicity stunt on the Mets' part because he's playing for the Brooklyn Cyclones, right? Their single A team.
He's not even doing that. He's playing in the instructional league.
Well, shit, I could probably hit a home run in the instructional league. Maybe not today, but I guarantee I could have done it back when I was his age. Whatever. But back to the Cubs, actually, as we all know, I have about 14 favorite teams, and the Cubs aren't one of them. I'm sorry.
Really?
I'm not against them. I won't say that. It's not like I'm rooting against them, but they are not, after the Indians, my first choice to win this thing.
You are rooting for the Indians, or are you not rooting for the Indians?
I am, yes. I am.
I'm pulling for the Jays, obviously, but after that, it's the Cubs.
In the first round, at the very least, yes, of course I'm rooting for the Indians.
Oh, right. They're playing the Red Sox, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, God, I don't know. Then an Indians-Cubs World Series would be really freaking cool, I think.
But then somebody's got to win, right?
Yeah, the Indians.
See, I just don't see, outside of my loyalties to Toronto, I can't root against the Cubs. I mean, it's just one of the best seasons of all time. They've got to put it away.
They've certainly looked like they can do it this year.
Otherwise, if they don't win it this year, that's even worse than just sucking all season.
As I look at it, I can predict the playoffs right now. You want to know?
Yeah.
Sure.
The Giants will beat the Mets in the one-game playoff on Wednesday. Then the Giants will sweep the Cubs in the first round. And then the Red Sox will beat the Indians, and the Red Sox will beat all hope out of the American League. And you'll get Red Sox Giants in the World Series, and then everyone won't give a damn.
Now, what happens if the Mets do what we all know they should do, and they call up St. Timothy before the game.
Well, he'll hit home runs every pitch. It'll be like the natural.
Exactly. If the Mets do that, then I have to think the entire formula changes.
I like that St. Timothy Tebow. That's good. I always called him Jesus Tebow, but I like yours better. I'm not rooting against the Cubs. I don't want it to sound like that. Like, I would love to see them win. I think it'd be great, but I'm not rooting for them. I mean, I'm not rooting against them, but I'm not all excited about it either, if that makes any sense. It'll be cool that they do it, but I'm not going to be disappointed if somebody else does it instead. And I've heard, too, that they have a real tough time with the Dodgers and Mets pitching staff, so I don't know if that's true or not, but if that's the case, they could be in trouble.
Well, the Mets beat them last year in the playoffs.
But then again, though, man, I mean, this Cubs team, when they're on, geez, they're really, really good.
But it's another one of those things where it's like the Cubs have been a team that's been on top of the whole league for months. The way the playoffs have worked out is it's whoever gets hot at the right time sort of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wild card games. Tuesday is Orioles-Blue Jays. We're all
great uniform matchup. Yeah. Yeah,
Blue Jays.
Let's just hope we get another Texas Blue Jays game from last year.
Well, that's what happens.
Yeah. The wild card runner will play the Texas Rangers.
Oh, you guys can knock them out again. That'd be great, Mike.
The Blue Jays will beat the Orioles. They will then play the Rangers, which they will win. Jose Bautista will have approximately 3 bat flips a game.
Nice.
So that's going to be 9 bat flips.
I hope this time he doesn't just flip the bat, but like chucks it at the Rangers dugout.
Like angrily.
Yeah. Just throws it from the end of the bat, like barrel first into the dugout every single time.
I think Zach's right. It's going to end up being San Francisco-Boston because why would we have exciting new teams?
Right, why would we have fun?
Century-long droughts being ended in exciting fashion. Why have that when we could just have Red Sox-Giants? Now, either way, either the Cubs win this whole thing or they don't. We're having Andy on after it's all said and done, right?
Between how bad the Bears are and then if the Cubs lose the World Series, I don't think so. I don't want to broadcast a suicide.
Andy sounds pretty realistic about the Bears, though.
Yeah.
The Bears are supposed to be garbage.
And they are. Well, no, they won yesterday, right? Didn't they beat the Lions?
But congratulations, Zach, kind of a football sub-tangent, but congratulations, Zach, on the 3-1 first place Rams of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I don't brag, but first place football team, pretty good. Good.
And you picked the right year to jump off that Colts bandwagon.
Oh God! Mike Trout MVP, despite the Angels being 74 and 88.
This is what you always get into with this stupid award. Is the MVP the best player or the most valuable player? Best player, yeah.
Here's the thing, though, with that, because somebody asked Mike Socha about it earlier in the season too, and he's like, "Well, if the MVP needs to win more games." Well, it's like, okay, but here's the situation that the Angels are in with Mike Trout. Mike Trout has done everything he could possibly do to make that team better. Like,
yeah, would they win 74 games this year?
74 and 88.
They're probably 65 and 103 or whatever without him.
Yeah,
they'd be so bad they would play 7 more games and lose all of them. Sorry, go ahead.
Like, he led the majors in runs. Despite being on a crappy team.
Yeah.
He led the majors in walks. He led the majors in WAR by a good margin. I was scrolling through Baseball Reference's baseball stats and all the leaders and stuff. There's 44 total categories that they list. Mike Trout leads 17 of those 44. The next closest guy in terms of leading categories is David Ortiz, who has 4.
Wow.
And he only had 29 home runs. He only had 100 RBI, but he had 30 stolen bases. Yeah. 30 stolen bases, 315 average, led the majors in on-base and OPS and all that sort of stuff. It's like, it's not his fault if the rest of the team sucks.
If you're going to give out the award because of who the best player in baseball is, I have no problem with giving it to Mike Trout. I think that they've either got to change the name of it or create a separate award because it's ridiculous. Because, Big Papi's probably going to win it, right?
Yeah. He's really the only other candidate because of the team and his numbers and, of course, the East Coast media and his popularity.
And it's the Red Sox.
Mike Trout was the better player this season.
No question about it.
He can't pull Albert Pujols around the bases himself. there was literally nothing he could have done more to make this team better than what it was.
I think the real thing to take away from this is the Angels, for the good of baseball as a sport, need to trade him to a team that is contending.
Do that or fire everybody, because this is insane. Like, you can't be looking at this and say, oh, well, yeah, he got the MVP. That's real nice. You have the best player in generations.
Yep.
And you're just not good.
You've got to do one of two things. Like Mike said, you've either got to trade him because you could just get a major haul for him right now, or Artie Moreno has to go out and you got to spend money and put a team around him. Otherwise, you're wasting him. You're just absolutely wasting, and that's bad not only for the Angels, it's bad for the sport of baseball.
Exactly. It's like, say what you will about the Edmonton Oilers, but at least when they landed the Connor McDavid pick, they woke up like a guy who had spent the last 5 years in a drunken stupor and were like, all right, now I've got to clean myself up. And you could argue that maybe it didn't work, but, or you can have that discussion. But at least they made an effort to say, okay, we're getting a once-in-a-generation talent here. Let's try not to squander him.
Right, exactly. And that's what the Angels need to do. They've either got to become a competitive team and make it worth having this guy, or trade him somewhere. Because, look, if you're waiting for an Angels rebuild to happen, he's going to be too damn old to enjoy it by the time it finally gets all the way around. Their farm system is so completely bereft of talent right now that you've got to have, 2 or 3 good drafts. And then at that point, you're 5 years away with each draft. So it could be 6, 7, 8 years before we even see any results with the Angels.
Yeah. Ken Rosenthal said the other day that, people should vote for Mike Trout because he doesn't want people to look back in 20 years at Mike Trout's stats for his first stretch with the Angels and say, how did he only win one MVP award with the of things he's done? And he's on my favorite baseball team, so a little bias here, but normally I just say, like, you have to be on a winning team to be the MVP because that means that you made the team better. But this does feel like an Alex Rodriguez MVP situation when he was in Texas.
I was going to say, didn't he win one?
Yeah, he won one. Andre Dawson won one with the Cubs one year when they were in 5th place, I think. Yeah, it's not unprecedented.
You're in a situation where you are just the best player this season by a large, far and away margin, that you were the best player. And without Mike Trout, the Angels are probably, like you said, Greg, in the 60s or in the 50s in terms of wins. Is the MVP a guy that leads you to first place or just leads you to not being as terrible as you could have been?
The best way that I've looked at it is that the MVP is the most valuable player to his team. Using, that qualification, you could probably make the very easy argument that Mike Trout is of greater value to the Angels than any other player is to their team.
Yeah, see, that's the way I look at it, too. Is okay, if it's most valuable, then that's it. Most valuable player, meaning what happens to this team if you don't have this guy? Mm-hmm. Because we've seen guys that win MVP awards. I look at some teams like, I'm not going to be able to remember a single one, but you look at it and you go, this team would have been just as good had this guy had a year where his stats were 30% less than what they are. They still would have been fine. And with Trout, you can't make that argument. And to me, it's like, if you're the most valuable, you're the most valuable, period. I'm fine with him getting the MVP. I don't think it'll happen, but I'm okay with it.
I don't have a problem with giving it to Mike Trout. Again, I think the only problem here is entirely on the Angels side of things, in that they need to realize that they are letting one of the best baseball players in a generation just wither away, and they need to do something about that, either make themselves better or send him to a place where he can actually compete for a World Series.
This is maybe the greatest technical failure we've ever had. People of Earth.
Hello. Hello.
I don't hear it.
We come to you in peace.
It's really pronounced.
Hold on.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Unruffled by that minor setback, we try phase 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Zach's Tabs. All hockey edition.
Gato. Zach's Tabs edition. Robot thing.
Take it away, Kilroy.
So the upcoming, or not the upcoming year, but once the calendar turns to January 1st and we get into 2017, the National Hockey League will celebrate its 100th anniversary.
Oh.
Okay.
It's the 98th season of the NHL, but this is their 100th anniversary. So their 100th anniversary logo, pretty simple, a 100 in silver with the NHL logo. I think it's actually pretty nice.
The zeros look like googly eyes.
A little bit, but that's okay. It's all right.
If you scroll down, then you'll see the logo for the Centennial Classic, which will be played in Toronto at the soccer field between the Maple Leafs and Red Wings.
I still think it's a missed opportunity. It should be Maple Leafs Canadiens, since those are the only two teams from the league's first season.
How are you going to get an American to watch that, Mike?
I'd watch that.
Why can't Americans just appreciate the history? Why do we need to put an American team to get Americans to watch? Huh?
That's a fair point. But remember, this is America you're talking about here. We are not terribly smart most of the time.
Remember, Mike, you're now an honorary American, so
you should know better than anyone at this point.
The Los Angeles Kings are celebrating their 50th anniversary as well. And so they unveiled a 50th anniversary jersey, and boy howdy, is it exciting.
Okay.
Look how excited Andrei Kopitar.
That is one exciting uniform, I've got to say.
Andrei Kopitar is like, why can I not be back in Slovenia?
That is
actually, he has more of an American accent than some of the Americans that play hockey. But basically, yeah, it's gray with a black shoulder yoke, two black arm stripes, one black stripe around the waist, and then gray, and then some gold outlinings on the Kings logo.
I don't think it's a bad jersey, but I think if you're going to do a 50th anniversary, shouldn't you drop some of the purple and gold back in there somewhere along the way?
Greg, that's the hanger effect. If you scroll down, you'll see the purple inside of the collar have gold diamonds.
I'm going to use up our last fuck for the show and say fuck the hanger effect. Let's see an actual jersey.
Yeah, no,
I like it. It's a good-looking jersey, but I just think if you're going to do a 50th anniversary of the Los Angeles Kings, you got to bust out the what was the guy's name? Rogie Vachon or whatever, their goalie back then?
Yeah,
you got to bust out those, man. You got to get them back out.
No, man, if you are going to honor the legacy of the Los Angeles Kings, you need to honor the Felix Potvin era. That was the true era that defined.
Were those the black and purples?
Yes.
Yeah.
My girlfriend used to have one of those.
Those are my favorite Kings jerseys for a couple reasons. One, because those were the worst Kings teams of all time. So, and two, because I just think that they're great. It gives them some life. I think the Kings look their best when they have a little purple in them. Whether you trend towards the purple and gold era or the 90s, early 2000s purple, black, and silver.
Purple, black, and silver, I thought was a very interesting uniform set because, like, after a couple years, they switched the alternate and primary logos. I thought that was interesting. Rarely do you see that. And then, in what I thought was a masterstroke of stupidity, everyone saw those uniforms and went, if they just got rid of the Los Angeles along the waist stripes and just went with the stripes, those would look pretty sharp. And then they removed the stripes and kept the Los Angeles text along the waist.
Yeah, which was brilliant. I think the other thing that they did wrong, at least on this anniversary jersey, well, one, they said that they tried to combine some Kings eras into one jersey, and now you just get a template that the Kings have never worn once in their entire history. So, yeah, that really celebrates the 50 years of Kings hockey by nothing they've ever worn before.
But I don't see anything that references anything outside of their contemporary identity. Like, I don't see anything that specifically harkens back to the Gretzky era. I don't see anything that harkens back to the purple and gold era.
Can we just get the crown out of that stupid LA home plate logo? I like that crown logo. The fact that it's relegated to that tiny little portion on the point of the home plate logo is really kind of a crime. It needs to be featured in some capacity. The crown is one of their more prominent logos, whether it was the purple, black, and silver one or the purple and gold one. The crown was always a mainstay of the Kings jersey up until the Gretzky era jersey where they put it into the Chevy logo, and now this home plate thing.
I think that most people probably understand that they're from Los Angeles. The LA might not be all that necessary. And you're the Kings. A crown would make the most sense.
And, of course, the other thing that represents classic Kings hockey are the two fake laces on the bottom of the collar. That's really...
Yeah. I hate this design trend.
It works on some teams, but it doesn't work on a team that's trying to celebrate its history.
I thought the laces, not the fake ones, I don't like those really in any capacity, but I thought the laces were cool when the traditional teams came out with them. But then when everybody started going with it, it's like, okay, now it's too much.
Nashville Predators, old-time hockey.
Right.
The other thing that I do like about this jersey, I think black, silver, and gold is a hell of a color scheme.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Let's move on up to Edmonton, where the Oilers, for the first time in their history, have unveiled a mascot.
Awesome. This is going to be good. I already know.
The Lynx, and here's his bio page. Hi, I'm guessing you want to know what most other Oiler fans do. Who am I and where did I come from?
Oh, come on. I mean, come on. But as soon as he says hi, I mean, come on. You guys got to love him right there, don't you?
That thing looks terrifying.
It's a little too accurate. It looks like just put like a hockey jersey on a lynx.
It looks like something you'd see in a taxidermy.
Yes.
A little too on the nose, I think.
Yeah. Somebody said that it looks like it's just like drenched, like it's wet. Like it's a wet cat.
They just found this dead body in the rain and put a hockey jersey on it.
I mean, he's like, he could go from cute to chewing your neck off like that. He's right on the verge of being a little scary looking, I think.
Yeah, so he has his full bio there, tells you how he fell in love with hockey and how much he loves kids, as you can tell by that smile on his face.
Like my Lynx family and friends, I only come out at night to hunt. Oh, see, now he's educating the kids as well as entertaining them.
Yeah. I actually came across a bunch of kids playing hockey on an outdoor rink. One look at the game and I was hooked. The speed, the skill, the fun.
I decided to become a hockey fan right after slaughtering and eating all of them.
He reminds me a little bit of the New Orleans Pelican, the original one, because it was like, yeah, that looks like a scary pelican, man.
Go down to the bottom of Hunter's page here where he's behind the kid. I'm sorry, but that thing looks menacing, like he's about to attack this kid.
It looks like he's going to kill the kid.
Right. It's like, I found lunch. They need to make him a little more cartoony and a little less realistic. But other than that, okay.
Mascots need to be slightly cartoony. They cannot be like accurate depictions of animals, or they're kind of scary.
Yeah, because he's going to eat this child. I mean, he may have right after the picture was taken. Who knows?
Moving on. Last thing comes from the always entertaining Arizona Coyotes Hockey Club.
Phoenix.
So
via Glendale.
I'm just going to read to you. This is a letter they put out today to the fans.
Dill, Bill, and Steve.
It doesn't even have a deer. It doesn't have anything. It just starts. We're sorry.
Yes,
sorry
you are.
And taglines. Sorry we asked you to, quote, join the hunt, run with the pack, and be Coyotes cool. Especially that one. Sorry for hockey headquarters, together we're full strength, and not your dad's original six. We get it. We're sorry for the insecurity. It's not by choice that we face new questions and question marks season after season. But hey, it's hard to overcome being the underdog, no pun intended, without facing some adversity. But we will overcome. We need you to buy in. We need you to see the heart, dedication, and sacrifice that our players bring to the ice every night. We need you to see our commitment to this community and to the entire state of Arizona. We're not merely going to promote that we're, quote, here to stay. We're going to show you. We're not going to tell you that we're, quote, one pack. We're going to show you. We're not going to tell you it's, quote, hockey the hard way. We're going to show you. No taglines, no promises, no excuses. Coyotes 2.0.
Okay, I'm going to borrow a fuck from next week. Are they fucking kidding me with this?
This is the saddest thing I've ever read.
That's terrible. That is just terrible.
We had to slash some budget concerns, so we got rid of the PR department, and this is what we got. So please buy
wow. Is there anything at all, even if you were a Coyotes fan, anything at all in that letter that makes that team appealing? I mean, seriously, is there?
No, it's so bad.
I've defended this team before, but I can't do it anymore. But when I was there, and I read up on the stuff all the time, the things that were happening with the team and the marketing that they were trying to put out there. It's like, yeah, they were marketing like, hey, we need you all to be here together because we're going through tough times. We need fan support. It made sense that they did all that. So now they're apparently sorry for trying to unite the fan base, sorry for trying to make us a group effort here.
It came across as really passive aggressive to me. Fine, sorry we did this. Fine, sorry we. I mean, like, fuck you. I don't know. Maybe I heard it wrong.
No. I think what I got out of this was a bit of what Zach said. Like, we had to save on the budget, so we fired the PR department, but we still need to have some branding advertisement. So our new tagline is, we're not going to have a tagline.
Yeah.
Okay, they mentioned, like, we're sorry about the insecurities. This just reeks of more insecurity.
Sorry for hockey headquarters. Why are you sorry about that? What was so terrible about that?
They're just sorry about all the I don't know, the taglines they used.
The market?
So they said no more taglines. Signed tagline.
Yeah, Coyotes 2.0 is a tagline.
And as I told Mike earlier, this isn't even Coyotes 2.0. This is at least Coyotes like 7.5. we're working on a couple different versions here.
That's just some really, really bad PR there. I don't get it.
Later in the day, they had a 30-second message from Shane Doan that they posted on Twitter, where it was basically like, there's nowhere else I want to play. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're a whiny bitch, Shane. When the team was about to move to Seattle or Winnipeg or somewhere, you said, well, I'm not going to move. I have a no-move clause. I don't have to go with the team.
And then he caught some rare disease that was last seen afflicting 19th century gold prospectors.
Rocky Mountain fever, yeah. They put out a letter to announce their marketing campaign, which is that they don't have a marketing campaign.
Well, that always usually works out pretty well.
And again, this whole no insecurity thing, this is still a sign of insecurity. When they say, we're not going to tell you one pack, we're going to show you. We're not going to tell you it's hockey the hard way. We're going to show you. By simply saying that, it's a sign of insecurity. I don't even know what hockey the hard way is supposed to mean, but if it does have any tangible meaning, just shut up and do it. Don't go on about how you're not going to tell us. That is still a mark of insecurity.
Not only that, but do you admit that you're insecure? Do you come right out and say it? We're sorry for the insecurity. I mean, of all the things I've thought about that team, insecurity wasn't any of them.
I never got the sense that they were insecure, but this is the first time I'm seeing their slogan, not your dad's original six, and yeah, that is pretty fucking insecure.
That one was one of the most desperate attempts of like, look, we know that you're all Blackhawks and Red Wings fans, but like us too.
And but I'm noticing that they left out of the letter, we're sorry for when we opened up a Tim Hortons to try to coax the snowbirds to come in.
Oh, they're not sorry about that.
Yeah, you should never apologize for opening a Tim Hortons, man. Come on.
Or are they sorry for the Canada Day concert that they held?
Remember that? That was like with Trooper, I think was one of the bands, right? They were like the headliners. It was like the concert bill was like straight out of Trailer Park Boys. I loved it. It was great. It's like Trooper, Helix, and some other Canadian band you've never heard of.
And then afterwards, you can all stay here and watch the Vancouver-Edmonton game on the Jumbotron.
You gotta love them, those Coyotes. They're something else.
Oh, Shane Doan. This is all going to be so funny when the team moves to Moose Jaw.
How do you say coyotes in French?
Coyotes.
I have no idea.
Coyotes.
All right, is that all for this week?
That's it.
Okay, so you know the routine. Twitter, it's at Basically Sports. You can find us on Facebook. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube. And with that, we're sorry for all the slogans and taglines and the plugs. We're sorry we asked you to listen. But with that, we're done. We'll see you next time.
Sorry for the last 4 years of podcast.
Whatever we would normally tell you, we're not going to tell you. We're just going to show you.
We're not going to tell you to listen to the show.
We're just going to show you. All right, we'll see you next time, folks.
Bye.
Woo!